You're listening to the Bloodshed Baddies.
Hi, I'm Lex.
And I'm Sam.
And we are the Bloodshed Baddies.
Woo, woo, woo. What's up, baddies?
What's up, what's up?
Not much, not much.
Sam, do you know what episode this is?
What?
Episode 50!
We came to you for 50 episodes. Yay, us.
And if you have not listened to the other 49, go back and listen to them. Help
Start
some
from the
girls out.
beginning.
Yeah.
Do a re-listen.
We've also gotten a lot better than the beginning.
I think so.
So go be like, wow, they didn't know what they were doing. It's funny.
Hopefully you guys think so also. They're not like these girls are getting worse and worse.
But we are getting worse. That's fine too.
We still like it.
It's episode 50, and we are in the holiday season, Samantha.
Yes.
So we are going to play Christmas. Would you rather?
Oh, I love this, love this, love this so much. Good start to the case.
Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Would you rather be Santa Claus for the day or the Grinch for the day?
Oh my gosh, this is actually such a hard one. My initial thought was like, duh, Santa Claus. However, definitely the Grinch because he just can be so grumpy and like throw bottles and rub his belly.
Especially if it's like the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Yes.
I want to be the Jim Carrey Grinch all day long. I think I am sometimes. Especially when he's like, am I just eating because I'm bored?
Yes, Grinch wins.
Okay. Would you rather be one of Santa's elves or be one of Santa's reindeer?
Oh, honestly, I think a reindeer.
Me too. I feel like the elves work really hard.
They work really hard, and then reindeer just get to like chill with Rudolph and like be the cool people of the night.
And they only gotta like fly on Christmas Eve. Like the elves be working year round.
Truth.
Getting those toys done.
In their little sweatshop. It's not a sweatshop, but you know what I mean?
Would you rather get one big gift or 10 small gifts?
Ugh. You're not going to like this answer because it doesn't really answer it, but whichever would be like the more meaningful one. You know, I'm not like a huge gift person.
Yeah.
If there's meaning behind it, that. What about you?
I think if it's like a trip, then one big gift.
Okay, I was thinking size. So trip could be small in an envelope.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money. I was thinking big was like a lot of money.
Okay. I see where you're going now. Then yeah, trip for sure.
Or like nice jewelry or like a concert ticket, like an experience. I'd want the big gift.
Agreed with that.
But if the big gift is just something expensive that I'll never use, then I want the 10 small gifts.
Like a robot?
I do use a robot vacuum every single day. So, not saying no to a robot. Just depends on what it does.
Dusty, get her a robot.
If it cleans my shower, it's the best gift you could give me. Would you rather go on a sleigh ride or go ice skating?
Sleigh ride. I'm a terrible ice skater.
I love ice skating. I'm not good at it either, but I love it.
Lexi, I have like literally gone in the splits one time at the ice skating rink.
Okay. Would you rather have your ears turn into elf ears or have a Santa beard forever?
Okay, well, you know how I feel about elf ears? I would rather have a Santa beard forever.
I personally probably would choose the elf ears because I could hide them with my hair.
They are hideable, but no.
But yeah, if you know, know. And if you don't, you don't. Okay. Eggnog or hot cocoa?
Hot cocoa. I'm not a huge eggnog fan.
Eggnog all the way. I've already drank eggnog this year.
Lexi, I did not know that you liked eggnog.
I have some in my fridge right now. Oh yeah, last year Dustin and I went and bought a bunch of different kind of eggnogs and did an eggnog taste test.
Okay, girl. I like it.
The screwball peanut butter eggnog is by far the best out of all of them.
It sounds good.
Live in a gingerbread house or ride on the Polar Express?
Oh my goodness. The Polar Express is one of those movies that make me cry every time I watch it, and it's just literally like the spirit of Christmas. So I probably would ride the Polar Express. What about you?
I would visit the North Pole because my personal favorite Christmas movie in the entire world is The Santa Claus.
Oh, such a good
And
movie.
I also, like most women in their early 30s to late 30s, had a big old crush on Bernard, the
Bernard.
elf.
Bernard was, I think, many people crushed on Bernard, including myself.
Yeah. So I'd want to go see him at the North Pole. Also, I saw a TikTok recently, and it was that like, that Lips of an Angel song that's like, my
Oh,
girl's in the next room. And it was like, when you're getting married tomorrow, but you call Bernard just in case.
Bernard. That's a funny TikTok. Whoever made that, good work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's my Christmas Would You Rather.
I love
Thanks for
it.
playing. If
Yes.
you are on one of our social medias, comment some of your thoughts in the comments on this post so we can know what you think.
Yes. And it's always good to start out fun when we talk about what we talk about.
Yep.
So first, I want to shout out my girl Leah for suggesting this case. So thank you, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
What up, girl? It literally took me down such a rabbit hole that surprise for the listeners and Lex, this is gonna be a two-parter.
Sam's two-parters, y'all. My episodes are always so short, and Sam's ringing in the two-parters.
This one is wild. I'm hoping the second part is not confusing, like kind of like my Chill Coffee 6 episode was. But it's just one of those cases that like stuck with me so much. It was so insane. I needed more than one episode. So sorry, everybody.
That means I get a break next week.
Lexi's happy. I also wanted to mention before I got started that I got a lot of information from a really great podcast, Over My Dead Body, which will be linked in the show notes. It actually spends a whole season on this case.
Oh,
If you want to go down a
wow.
rabbit hole, yep. And it doesn't even get to like all of it, honestly, without giving too much away. You do need Wondery Plus, but you can get a free trial if you want, aka what I did. But anyway, are you ready for this, Lex?
I'm very excited, especially now that I know it's two parts.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. So, on July 19th, 2014, a man named Daniel Markel started his day a little before 9 a.m. As a Florida State University college professor, he was off for the summer. So he drops his two young sons off at daycare and then goes to the gym for about an hour. On his way home, he called a friend, Stuart, to get some advice. And as he is pulling up to his house, he says, hold on, there's someone in my driveway unfamiliar to me. Stuart hears some mumbling, then a loud sound that sounded more like a loud human grunt.
What?
Then a neighbor of his on Trescott Drive, a neighbor of Daniel's, which is in a very nice upscale neighborhood in Tallahassee, Florida, Benton Hills, notices something odd and calls the police. His neighbor says Dan's garage door was open and they thought Dan was backing his car out. This neighbor went inside and then he was back outside and the car was still in that same position. The neighbor then noticed the driver's side window was shattered. Something wasn't right and he called the police.
Did Stuart call the police?
I don't think he did because it sounded just like a loud, like a grumble, like blah, 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 like hang up. He probably was like, oh, he'll call me back.
Okay. I get that. I get that.
When police get there, they find Dan Markel, who was the owner of the home, slumped over the driver's side seat. Keys were still in position. Dan had been shot with a handgun at point blank range twice in the head.
So he just pulls into his driveway and gets shot twice by some. He's like, wait, there's somebody I don't know in my driveway. Boom, boom, dead.
Yes. Once in the forehead and once in the left cheek.
And this is the middle of the day.
Yes. He also had an injury on his forearm, most likely because he put his hand up to protect himself.
Oh,
I know. Daniel is rushed to the local hospital where he unfortunately passes away 14 hours later.
wait. He's shot in the head twice in the head and lives for 14 hours after being shot in the head twice.
Yes, and we'll find out a little bit later that like there was some delay with getting an ambulance there. So like it's possible not to go down that rabbit hole, but like measures could have been handled better.
Oh my
At first, police think this could be a possible robbery, but there was no evidence of anyone entering the home. This leads police to wonder who could possibly have done this and why.
Yeah.
So let's start with first who Daniel Eric Markel was. Taking it back. Daniel was born October 9th, 1972. He grew up in Canada. From a very young age, he was ambitious. He actually wanted to be a rabbi when he was younger, but when he got to high school age, he started telling everyone he was going to go to Harvard.
Oh, okay. Very ambitious.
And this ambitious guy does just that. He goes to Harvard and graduates from there.
Good for him.
Yeah, Dan's pretty intelligent. He then clerks for a judge, and after that, he worked for a successful law firm. Dan was killing it in his career and very successful, but he was missing something and he wanted a family.
Aw.
So Daniel goes on JDate, which is a Jewish dating website, where he starts talking to and then officially meets Wendi Jill Adelson. She is warm, beautiful, and Jewish and just seems like the perfect match for him. Wendi was the youngest of three children. She had two brothers, Rob and Charlie. Rob was the oldest and kind of fell out of closeness with the family after he dated and eventually married a non Jewish woman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, it caused some issues in the family, and he eventually moved to New York. The family was actually originally from New York, but they were all near the Miami area now.
Oh,
Her mother, Donna, was a school teacher until her and her husband, Harvey, started their family. They moved outside Miami, and Harvey started a dental practice that became very lucrative. Charlie, the middle child, actually followed in his father's footsteps and became a periodontist and bought the dental practice from his father. So they're all doing like very well for themselves.
yeah. Killing it.
Yes. Wendi herself is very educated and at the time of meeting Dan was going to school to be a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
She was also 7 years younger than him, but Wendi graduated from Brandai and got her master's degree from Cambridge.
Oh, there are some smart ass people.
They are. And when they met, her and Dan, Wendi was actually going to law school at the University of Miami. So they started out dating long distance. But even with the distance, they seemed to be clicking. In 2005, Dan is up for a tenured position at Florida State University in Tallahassee. A month later, Dan and Wendi visited Israel, and Dan proposes and she accepts.
That's a beautiful place to propose, especially like with their religious significance.
Agreed. So things appear to be going very well for them both, and they end up getting married, I believe, in like February of 2006. Now, at this point, they seem like the perfect power couple. Both are charismatic, good looking, lawyers, and FSU will eventually offer Wendi a contracted position since Dan works there. But this is all from the outside.
Oh, no.
For instance, like a few months before they were married, Wendi confided in a friend that she was thinking about breaking off her engagement.
Why?
Why, you ask? Well, Dan is a lawyer and he likes to debate and argue. And apparently, he was doing this with her
Um,
friend and like hurt the friend's feelings. But when he obviously ended up deciding against this, and a few months later, her and Dan tied the knot. They have an extravagant wedding in Boca Raton. However, there was a little drama there. Dan's family is very serious about keeping kosher, and Wendy's family booked the caterer, and it was in
oh,
fact not kosher.
that's a big mistake on her
Yes.
family's part. Like, I get you don't have to follow that tradition, but like you can't book food that half the people there can't eat.
Yeah, exactly that. So Dan ends up going around to everyone who was kosher and like personally apologizing to them at this wedding, but then seemed to brush it off and spent the rest of the night dancing the night away with Wendi. Wendy also ends up keeping her own last name, which I feel like is not uncommon, especially nowadays and especially with like lawyers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, especially when I think you work so hard for a degree and your degree is under that name. Like, I know a lot of doctors do that
Yes,
too. They'll keep their last name because their whole practice, their whole identity is under that last name.
which makes sense. In July 2009, Wendy and Dan welcome their first child, and altogether they'll have two children. At the time this will all go down, the children will be age 3 and 4, and one will be just days away from their birthday.
3 and 4
So young.
babies.
Now the messiness will begin. I believe around 2013, Dan goes on a short business trip to New York. While on this short business trip, his wife, Wendy, calls him and is like, I'm leaving you. And he's like, no, what are you talking about? We can work this out. We can work on this. And when Dan gets home, the house is empty.
Okay. So she waits until he leaves and is just like, peace out, Boy Scout.
Yeah, and it's not like just empty because like Wendy and the kids are gone. There's also furniture missing, especially like the kids' furniture. And then he walks up into the bedroom, and sitting on the bed that is still there are divorce papers.
So, oh, this is the worst fucking way to get divorced. No, entire world. Unless the part of the story that I'm missing is that they've had this discussion 85 times and he just keeps blowing it off. Or she was in danger of some sort. But if that's neither of those are true, this is the worst effing way to find out you're getting divorced.
Yeah, like literally, this is pull off the band-aid. My mind's made up. Sorry, I don't want to give you the decency to talk to you any type of way. I'm getting a divorce.
But
Goodbye. Yes. Now, Dan is completely blindsided, but people are like, honestly, he shouldn't have been that blindsided.
okay, okay,
Allegedly, they would argue about chores often, which I find
okay.
ridiculous being married myself.
If someone is consistently not pulling their weight and the other person has to pick up all the slack, yes,
Agreed.
that's an issue. I just think it's so silly how it sounds. Like we fought about chores, so we're getting divorced.
Yes. They also, though, would fight about being kosher because, again, Dan took this pretty seriously and Wendy was just more lenient with it, which, that happens in religions and things like that.
And that's fine. Like that doesn't mean you have to fight about it though. Like
Agreed.
I was vegetarian for a while and nobody was ever like, God damn it, you're ruining our lives because you're a vegetarian, I'm not. And I was never like, you should stop eating meat because I've stopped eating meat.
Yes.
Like, chill, just have your own fucking preferences.
Was just going to say that. It's a choice, it's a preference, it's how that person wants to be. But something that even more could have been a reason why Wendy did this is Wendy wrote a fiction novel that was about someone hating the town they lived in and being in a very unhappy marriage that seemed to have a lot of parallels to her real life.
Maybe not so fiction.
Yes. And although Dan promoted this book on his blog that he had, he never read it. And honestly, that would be like so hurtful to me. And like Wendy ends up resenting him for this.
I get that. I get that. Also, just to play devil's advocate, not saying it's wrong or right, but it would probably be pretty hard to read a book written by your wife about how much she hates her life.
Which I didn't think of it like that. Yes. But like I'm sure like obviously that's not like a simple thing like oh I wrote a book and it got to the point of being published. That takes a long
Yeah.
time. Like even if you're like this book's all right, respect your wife enough to or your relationship partner enough to maybe read it.
It reminds me of a New Girl when Reagan falls asleep every time she reads fiction, so she doesn't read
It's
Nick's book,
exactly like
and
that.
then they have to read it out loud together so she doesn't fall asleep.
Yeah, like doing something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe he isn't a fiction person and he is busy. He's a lawyer, he's a dad. Anyway, that caused issues. Also, later on, after the murder took place, Wendy, in a creative writing class, wrote that she married Dan thinking like she could cheat the system basically and marry a man without love and passion that treated her as an equal. But unfortunately, this wasn't the case. In this creative writing class, she said he would tell her things like she makes everyone think she's a good person, but really isn't. And it just seems like one of those honestly like toxic relationships.
I'm sorry. You said I'm gonna marry a man with no love and passion because that cheats the system.
She was thinking, oh, he will respect me and accept me for who I am. It's okay that there's no love and passion there.
Okay. Okay. These two people should have never been together.
Unfortunately, that's what it seems like the case is. Now, after this wild exit, Dan gets on his email and sends an email to all of his friends about this and says he's super devastated and wants to get his family back together. It's like maybe just wait to hit send. Um, for the first like 2 weeks after Wendy left, she didn't tell Dan where her and the kids were living. So he would go to school drop off and pickups to see Wendy and the boys and to talk to her. So just again, messy.
This is so complicated because I don't want to be like, if there was like some sort of abuse involved that we don't know about, I don't want to be like, how could he not know where his kids live? Because like if you're trying to protect yourself and your family, maybe it is the best choice for you. But it just feels like I would be like, where I need to know where my kids live.
1,000%. But after divorce seems like the only option and they are in the thick of it, Dan's goal is no longer getting back together with Wendy. Dan was known for having controversial views on justice and basically being like people should get even. And it seems that both Wendy and Dan have this mindset, and their divorce gets messy, 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 messy. And as a reminder, they're both attorneys. So,
I was going to say that is a little interesting for an attorney though to have the thought process like basically don't get mad, get even. Like
yeah,
interesting.
it is. I think he like wrote like in on his blog and like some papers on it, but it was like he was known to be controversial. Dan and Wendy will both start seeing other people during their divorce, and they do settle their divorce without trial and are granted joint custody of the children. But even though they're officially divorced, Wendy and Dan are still filing motions and stuff against each other.
They know how to work the court system, so they're working it. Like you're done, you're divorced, you got the joint custody, leave it. Leave
Yes,
it. That you're just trying to hurt each other.
exactly. Like, for instance, Dan didn't pay the agreed upon money. Wendy didn't follow the agreement with the children because they barely call him when they are with her. And on Valentine's Day, Dan actually files a motion that Wendy lied about the money she had and should be sanctioned. And this is like a terrible thing on a lawyer's record. So even though the divorce is final, it's just as messy, messy, messy. They're throwing these like accusations around about each other.
These poor kids.
And they're so young.
Yeah, like you want to get even with your ex-wife and ex-husband at what cost? At the cost of your children's peace?
At what cost is the best question. Now, one of the biggest letdowns to Wendy is that she was really hoping to move back to be by her parents. She wanted to relocate her and her sons to South Florida, Coral Springs. She wanted to be near family. Wendy's family also really wanted her to move by them as well, because, of course, they already made the long 6 hour drive frequently to visit and help their daughter watch the kids. Wendy even found a job at a local law firm there. But Dan, of course, doesn't want his kids to be 6 hours away from him, and a judge ends up barring Wendy from moving the kids away. Basically, the judge is like, Wendy didn't do a good enough job to prove it was in the best interest of the children. So now Wendy is instructed to stay in Tallahassee until her youngest is 18, which would be about 16 more years.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And remember from that short story, it appears she doesn't like Tallahassee much at all. So this is like a huge letdown.
Yeah, but also understandable that he doesn't want to be 6 hours away from his kids.
Yes. And understandable for the judge, too, to be like, well, you guys were already living here and,
Yeah, they've already got their life established and you guys are already trying to ruin it enough.
yes. With all of this drama, Wendy's mother tells her to offer Dan $1 million to agree to let her and the children move to Coral Springs.
Where did they get this $1 million from?
Well, Wendy's mom said she would help pay the massive sum along with the middle child, Charlie, because again, he's doing really well for himself. So the family got it.
I can't imagine you coming to me and being like, I need to bribe my ex-husband about something, and me being like, oh yeah, I'll help you pay $1 million to bribe him.
I got you, girl.
Let's maybe think this through first.
And then also, like, I mean, people would. So I guess this is a dumb comment, but like the man obviously wants to be near his children. So like, would he really take $1 million to be like, take my kids 6 hours away and I'll probably never see them? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I am not sure if Wendy ever offered this to Dan, but this basically brings us back to July 19th, 2014, the morning of Dan's death. Wendy started her day with a repairman coming over to fix her TV. Her brother Charlie actually bought this TV for her as like a divorce present. And I realized I never got you a divorce present, Lexi, so I'm sorry.
No, no one got me a divorce present. They said, you're really on your own now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not what happened at all.
That's funny though. That's a good one. Um, but yeah, so her brother gets her this divorce present. It's broken. He gets a repairman. But after the repairman fixes her TV, she calls her brother Charlie and they talk for a little bit. She then calls Dan because she was supposed to get the kids from him later, but Dan didn't answer. She then goes to meet some friends for lunch, and during this lunch, Wendy even complains about Dan and the divorce and like things that are going on.
Okay.
At around 2 p.m., an officer comes to the restaurant and gets Wendy and takes her to the police station. While she's sitting at the police station, she checks her voicemail, and a friend of hers left a message saying she heard that there was a shooting at her old neighborhood and wanted to check in and just make sure everything is okay. And this is kind of like the first time Wendy hears about a shooting.
Okay.
The police then tell Wendy that her ex husband, Dan, was the one who had been shot, and he most likely wasn't going to make it. She completely breaks down and starts sobbing for like a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
The police will end up talking to Wendy for 8 hours. And during this time, Wendy is open to the police that they are going through a pretty messy divorce. Wendy says, although he never hurt her physically, Dan was emotionally abusive towards her, which is not cool at all.
No.
Police are like, okay, who do you think could do this to Dan? And Wendy is like, I literally have no idea. But he is dating a girl that does have an ex husband. So I don't know. Maybe there is some bad blood there. She also then
Mm.
starts crying and is like, basically, my friends and family know he didn't treat me very well. And I'm afraid that someone who loved me could have done this to him. Which is honestly a little bit wild to me.
That's a weird comment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make that comment, probably, but who knows?
Yeah. I don't know either because I don't know. But I think it's wild.
Yeah, yeah. Wild is right.
The police then press Wendy about what her family feels about Dan. Wendy says that her parents are angry with Dan in the divorce, but they never ever said a bad word about him around her kids, and that there is no way her parents could ever do this. They ask about her brothers, and she brings up the one who got her a TV, Charlie, and says he did joke about, quote, getting a hitman a couple times, but he would never actually do it. It was a joke. Like, for example,
Yeah.
the TV he got her. Charlie said, "This is your divorce present. It is cheaper than a hitman," which is just really weird to me.
Um, okay, so as someone with a very morbid sense of humor, I don't see a problem in joking about it. But if you really thought your brother was joking about it, then maybe don't tell police that
Also fair.
because it just looks bad.
However, like, I never said that about your ex-husband. Not even joking. Never even thought it.
No, that's true. That's true.
None
You
of us
just
did.
said you beat him up in the street if you ever saw it.
But I would never joke about the other thing. To me, you do have a darker sense of humor than me. But to me, it's
Yes.
just you don't joke about that. You don't.
No, I agree. It's weird. My sense of humor is weird. I don't think that I've ever joked about a hitman either. But like, I think it's the context, right? Like, a TV's cheaper than a hitman is not the same thing as being like, haha, I'm gonna hire a hitman and get rid of him to me.
Yes, I will give you that. I can
Yeah.
understand that. Anyway, Wendy does end up giving her phone over to police and then asks to call her parents. And when she calls them, her mom seems really shocked. This would be the last time that Wendy talks to the police without a lawyer present. Now, again, she is a lawyer and the ex, so I personally don't think that's weird at all.
I'm actually surprised she talked to them at all
Yes,
without a lawyer present. Like, I feel like just from watching true crime, I'd be like, oh, I'm getting a lawyer. Much less actually being a lawyer.
for real, especially being the ex.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, a few days later, there is a memorial service held for Dan, and the very next day, Wendi leaves town. Again, I don't think this is too weird because the town is now tainted for her. She wants to be by family. She also didn't like this town to begin with, so she probably just wants to get away from it all.
Yeah. The next day is a little um
Prompt?
I just thought it might take a little more planning than that, but I don't know. Just my personal thoughts.
Theories obviously start circling around, and of course, people are like, the divorce could have something to do with this. It was extremely messy, and it makes sense. Police are also not having much luck. It was clean, it was in and out. They don't have much evidence.
Sounds like a hit, man.
So the police open a tip line for the case. On the tip line, some people call in and say maybe it's a former disgruntled student. Some people suggest it could be a road rage incident.
Road rage?
Both plausible. You know how like people have really bad road rage and like will come out and
Yeah. But like waiting in his driveway for him?
yes, police are
That
also
seems
doubtful.
less plausible. The disgruntled student does make sense.
Yes. Police again though are like it was very clean, nothing was left behind, almost like it was done by a professional.
Wow.
There's also a very interesting tip that maybe Dan's murder has to do with Rabbi Mendel Epstein. Ever hear of that person?
The last name sounds familiar.
Which in itself is an insane case. Maybe I can look more into it. There are actually two bonus episodes on the podcast I mentioned earlier about this. But basically, in stricter Jewish communities, women are not allowed to divorce their husbands. So this man, Rabbi Mendel Epstein, and his friends used what they called tough guys service to like force the men to leave their wives. They would go as far
What?
as using kettle prods and stuff.
What is a rabbi doing this?
Yes, Rabbi Mendel Epstein's catchphrase was divorce or funeral.
What? What? Stop.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes. What does this have to do with Daniel? Well, Dan was actually brought on as a legal consultant on this case, and people thought it could be something to do with that insane case, but it actually wasn't, and there's no connection there. Just like something that I thought was so wild I needed to mention.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, Sam, you need to do a case on this next.
Go down
Need
that
more
rabbit hole.
information on that guy.
The police then, of course, talk to Wendy's boyfriend, and he does have an alibi. He was on his way to visit friends in Tennessee and had hotel receipts and stuff to prove it. He did, however, admit to police that he did mention wanting to kick Dan's booty based on how rude he was to Wendy, which I think makes sense.
Yes, that's yeah. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I'd punch him if I could.
I get it. Trust me. Police are then like, listen, we're looking for anything to crack this case. Is there anything that may help us? And Wendy's boyfriend says, well, Wendy's brother Charlie, who she is closest to, is a little sus. He's really, really wealthy. He is a dentist, but he also hangs with both sides of the tracks. So he's like a little shady as well. In the podcast, there is a clip of the boyfriend, and he actually says, as Wendy was in the process of her divorce, her parents and brother were very protective of her, and there was some creepy stuff going on, but he didn't want to talk about it. So just like a little odd comment.
Creepy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the boyfriend's name?
I did not add that. I don't know.
Well, Joe Schmo from wherever you're from. Weird thing to mention. How about we get some more information on that?
Now, with all the speculation and tips, nothing is really adding up or making sense. After the shooting, a neighbor did call the police and say that they saw a Toyota Prius backing out of the driveway.
Okay.
In July 2014, the police released an image of the green Prius seen in the area around the time of the murder. The police actually received over 50 tips with local residents and businesses submitting their video surveillance.
Wow.
Yeah, so they start combing through all the security camera footage nearby for the possible car, and they actually see the same car, tailing Dan's car, and they realize they have their car of interest.
Oh, a green Prius, really? That's what you're choosing to drive around in?
But there was a problem. The windows in this car were tinted, and the angles they got from all of the security camera footage could not read the license plate.
Of course, of course, of course. How many green
Literally.
Priuses can there be, though? Like, really?
Just terrible, terrible luck. But this causes the police to raise the award to now $100,000. A year goes by, and the police still have nothing concrete. During this time, Wendi lived with her parents for most of it, and then she moved into a two-bedroom apartment in Miami. She got a job clerking for a judge, and her mother comes up often to help Wendi watch the boys. But then another year passes, and still no concrete information. However, in February of 2015, a grand jury does review the 911 calls and completely blast the CDA's handling of Markley's dispatch call. Apparently, there was a 19-minute delay, 19 minutes in getting the paramedics to the scene, kind of like how I mentioned
That
earlier.
is so long, especially like, are they in Tallahassee?
Yeah, they're in like a very nice, uppity neighborhood in Tallahassee.
So you're not in the middle of nowhere where like that's the fastest an ambulance can get you.
Exactly. Very wild. And in August of 2016, they will reach a settlement with Dan's family based on the awful response time. Because again, who knows what would happen if they got there sooner, but like, better not go down that path.
I was just gonna say I can't even think that way.
No. Then, seemingly out of nowhere for the public, of course, an arrest is made in the case. On May 26th, 2016, the person arrested was a man named Sigfredo Garcia. He pulled into a gas station in a city north of Miami and was swarmed by the FBI. The FBI cuffed him and brought him in on charges for the murder of Daniel Markel.
Whoa.
Now, who the heck is Sigfredo Garcia, and what the heck is his connection with Daniel Markel, and how the heck did the police get this arrest 2 years later? Sigfredo Garcia at the time was a 34-year-old man from Miami, and he does have a pretty large history of arrests, to be honest, 22 to be exact.
22? 22 arrests?
But none of them are for murder.
Well, I hope not.
But during the last 2 years, police really were trying everything they could. After they looked at all of the videos of the cars sent in and realized they couldn't get a license number, police decided to pull all the cell phone records during this time around the area
Whoa.
where the cars are seen. The police then found a number connected to a Sigfredo Garcia. Not sure if it was just with his history and the fact that he's from Miami and it's odd that he was in Tallahassee, but the police look at his call log. And on Sigfredo's call log, there was a call to a Louis listed in his contacts. They run this number and see that this Louis guy was also in the area on the day of Dan's homicide.
Hmm.
Now, Luis was actually a Latin King gang leader.
Oh. How did the gang get involved in this?
Why wasn't he arrested as well, though? Well, he was already sitting in prison because he was picked up during a federal raid on the Latin Kings.
Oh, okay. Okay. These guys be doing great.
For further proof, the police also used the sun pass on the car while this is all going on to try and trace the specific car, and they traced it to a rental company in Miami. Luis was the one that rented the car before the homicide, and it was returned after the homicide. It appeared to police that they had their guys.
I just can't get over the fact that these guys rented a car to murder somebody and they rented a green Prius.
Maybe it was the cheapest option at the time. When I rent cars, I rent the cheapest.
I literally can't get over it.
But again, why are people traveling from Miami to Tallahassee to kill Dan and appear to have no connection to him at all? How is Dan connected to these two, and why would they possibly murder him?
Especially like it doesn't sound like anybody in the family really has gang, like especially a Hispanic gang. They're like Jewish. This is confusing.
Well, on June 2nd, 2016, documents in the murder case are unsealed, And this is when the public finds out that Luis Riveera is, in fact, the second suspect. But what follows after that is almost unbelievable. And unfortunately, you'll have to
I
tune
knew
in
it.
next week.
I knew it. And what you baddies don't know is because she didn't tell me this beforehand, we're only recording one episode this week. So I have to wait a whole nother week like you guys do.
Okay, but now you know why I went down a rabbit hole with this case. Is it's not insane.
Also, the fact that there's enough left for you to have a part two, the fact that it's not like, and then we find out this is how they were connected, the end. I'm like, what? Where? How? What's going to happen? What? It is, there's too much for a whole other episode. There's too much going on right now.
And honestly, I think it might be a little bit longer than this one. Craziness is coming your way.
Well, thanks for leaving us all on a cliffhanger. That's super fun. But wherever you're listening, make sure you are following the podcast. Give us a nice review. Make sure you're downloading the episodes, doing all the great things. Also, go check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Like us on there, comment, talk to us. We want to hear from you.
Send us an email with a case suggestion or story to bloodsheddbaddies@gmail.com. Intro music is made by our awesome cousin Vinny, who's also putting music out as Vinny Pelioni, Pelonie.
Nope. Pelione.
Oh, wow. Peliome. I think you're right. One of those.
We'll figure it out. Sam will cut out the wrong one.
We
Or
love
just leave
you.
this whole thing in. We'll see.
We love you, Pelionis. We're sorry. But tell your grandpa and grandma and tune in next week for part 2.
Bye.
Love you.